Hey everyone, Fox here from Fox & Kit Woodworks. So today I'm going to be doing an informational video. It's going to be kind of two-part. One, it's going to be a tune-up for a bandsaw, and this can be applied to many different bandsaws. And two, kind of an informational video on one of our newest tools in the shop, the Grizzly 0555XH, or as I like to call it, the triple nickel. Stay tuned to find out more. So, for many of you that are probably getting into more advanced woodworking, you're going to want to pick up a bandsaw. There's a lot of different reasons for this. One, you can do scroll work on it. Two, you have the ability to cut more curves into pieces of wood, especially if you're getting into maybe cutting boards and wanting to do some of those wavy inlays. And three, the fact that you can resaw a lot of your wood. One of the biggest things that I want to use this bandsaw for is actually resawing my wood down, so that way I'm not wasting as much. Currently, when I purchase a board that's 1 inch thick and I need to use it for a 1/2 inch piece, I have to plane it down to a 1/2 inch and I waste the majority of the wood. This will help me actually recut two pieces that are about a 1/2 inch thick, a little bit under by the time I'm done, but it'll allow that wood to go further and make projects easier for me. Let's talk about the Grizzly 0555, or I'm going to call it for the rest of this video, the triple nickel. The triple nickel's been around for a long time through Grizzly. They have many different iterations and models, ranging from just the basic all the way up to the XH, the L, I think the LX. There's a bunch of different ones. And all those numbers and letters, all they mean is different model-specific features. Now, in this video, I'm going to speak specifically to the XH model, which I believe stands for extreme height. I'm not 100% sure on that. I've never actually looked it up, but that's what I'm going to call it. And that's because this 14-inch bandsaw, instead of allowing only for maybe 7 to 8 inches of resaw capacity, goes up to 12 inches of resaw capacity. It also has the ability to change blades all the way up from 3/4 of an inch down to 1/8, allowing you to do additional scroll work, and comes with an upgraded roller system, so that way you can do that fine scroll work without having to maybe buy an upgrade from like Carter Tools. Now, to this triple nickel. It has a 1 3/4 horsepower motor. It uses a 105-inch blade. It does come with, from the factory, a fence that has flippable from a high back fence system for resawing, and you can flip this on its side to do thinner rips and cuts on smaller pieces of wood. On the bottom here is your access to the lower mount or lower wheel for your tensioning of your, or alignment of your blade. And on the top, you have your upper wheel, and on the back, your tensioner and also your fine adjustments for the canting of this upper blade so it rides true on the wheels. Also down under here, you can have access to the lower bearings for the blade guide. Now, why am I doing this video and talking about tensioning? Well, when I purchased this tool, I saw that it worked. The person that sold it to me was very nice and generous, was able to give me this tool and the Jet oscillating drum sander. It's a 22x44 at an amazing price, and I can't be more thankful for him letting them both go to me. It's unfortunate that he is a woodworker that is now having to get out of woodworking due to some health issues, but now it's going into a new shop where hopefully I'll be passing these skills on to my daughters. Before I got it home, the gentleman and I went through it. He showed me that the motor worked, it turned, everything spun. He did inform me that there was some issues with the blade tensioning and that the blade had came off and he had just never put it back on because he wasn't using it anymore. As I dove into that, I realized that the blade tensioner, which is right here, didn't seem to be the correct length. And as you can see here, there's only about 4 inches of thread on it. And in most videos, if you look at the triple nickel, it'll show this on some of the smaller models, but typically you'll see this one right here, which actually has, I believe it's 9 inches of threading. And that made me think, I wonder if maybe this model, because it's an older model, about 7 years old, had originally this one on it, or maybe at some point did they use this just to get it to work? Let me go ahead and step out of the flag, but go America. So after go ahead and doing my research online, I found out that yes, I was going to need to get a new tensioning rod. But additionally, I called up Grizzly to see if there was any other parts and pieces that I may need for it. And I will say this, Grizzly's customer support was amazing. Even though this tool was not my first-hand tool I bought from them. It was a second or potentially third-hand tool. They were able to go through all the different parts I was looking at, explain to me what they're for, and actually point me in the right direction of the correct parts to order, and it even allowed me to place them on the phone with them, which was awesome. So, in today's video, what we're going to be doing is going over the new setup and fixing of that tension rod. Okay, so now that we're on the back side of the machine, this is what I was looking at, and I'll bring you closer a little bit just so that you can see it in full detail. This is the original rod. This was the original upper collar, and if you look inside here, and it might come up on the camera, I'm not sure, it looks like there was threads on it at one point and they got stripped out, but this would go up here and there is a set screw to hold the upper collar. That rests on the top so that you can use the quick release tensioning system to be able to change blades faster. There is a lower collar that goes on the bottom and it gets threaded on, and this allows the bottom part of the tensioning to be able to be set so that way you can make those fine adjustments for your blade, depending on if it's 3/4 inch, 1/2 inch, whatever. When I was doing this, when I first got it, I noticed that when I would engage the tension by pulling the lever down, it would hold that position for maybe a few minutes and then it would slowly slide out. In fact, if you look right here, you can see where that set screw was actually biting in and then being stripped away from the tension. So, once I figured that out, I decided that I needed to figure out how to get a new one. Is this the correct one? And that's where Grizzly was really informative, and they said, nope, you need the 9-inch thread one. You're probably going to need a new upper collar because it is threaded. It does have set screws for it, which I am going to be taking out of the original because you have to buy those separate. Probably go ahead and get a new lower collar so it fits the threading correctly. Since this one's a little worn down, it might not fit as well on it. And at some point when he was either doing adjustments on it or taking it apart, putting it together, he lost the washer and the, we'll call it indicator washer, to be able to see where your tension's properly at. Now, I'll tell you, there are these square nuts. That's what goes on the bottom of this spring and all that to hold it together. If you release this, it will have a tendency with that spring to shoot down and bounce somewhere else. So make sure you have your hand there to catch it or putting some pressure on it so it just doesn't go flying. Luckily, I was able to find mine after it got trapped in the back here, and we got it all set up. So let me go ahead and bring you a little bit closer to show you what we're going to be doing. Okay, here we are at the whole little tensioning rod assembly. As you can see, I've taken it out, and here is that spring that I was talking about that sits in this assembly. Now, you can go on their website and buy this whole assembly as its own set piece. It's about $100, but to actually replace it, you got to go to the front side and take off, you know, basically the door, the wheel, and a bunch of other pieces to then remove this and then put it back onto the new one. The assembly for me looks good. There's been no issues with it. It really was just the rod. So what we're going to do per the instructions is we're going to take our tensioning rod and we're going to go ahead and put this upper collar on it. We're going to put that upper collar and thread it up to where there's about 1 inch of threads exposed from the top of the collar. Next, we are going to take our lower collar. We're going to go ahead and thread that on, and what I like to do with this one is actually set it so that the set screw is on the lower position. Looking at the pictures and stuff, when you go to put this in there, that'll allow it to keep exposed under these bars so that you can adjust it from time to time. And we're going to go ahead and thread that so it's about, we'll call it 1/2 inch away from the actual upper collar, like so. Whoops, I hit the stand there. I'm sorry about that. Next, we're going to go ahead and take this washer and slide that on directly below the collar. We are then going to take the whole assembly and drop it in just like that. Now, as you can see, when you raise it into the up position, you have full access to that set screw, and even when you drop it into the off pressure position, you can still access it to make those fine adjustments. From here, we're going to go ahead and make some fine adjustments. We're going to tighten this up just a little bit to about there. And now, as you can see, we have the threading right down below. Now, in the pictures and videos, it actually is lower than that. So we're going to go ahead and make a few adjustments here just to get it a little bit lower. There we go. And now we're going to go ahead and add the indicator and square nut. Now that we have it in place, what we're going to do is go ahead and tighten this down until it's set back into place. And I made a mistake already. What I should have done, there we go, is actually set this set screw so that it doesn't start spinning on me. And as you can see, when I actually pull down on the lever, this lifts up, releasing the tension from it. Now we might have to make a few adjustments here based on this length of this threading, but so far everything I've seen on the videos and in the instructions, there's about 1 inch hanging down. We just want to make sure all the rest of this is set up. So we're going to go ahead and drop that down into the released position, and we're going to make our fine-tune adjustments up here on the top collar. And there you have it. So let me go ahead and I'll be right back. Okay, and so I added the set screw up here off the camera, but now I have this set in position. It should not be turning anymore anywhere. I probably need to tighten it down just a little bit because I did get it to turn. There we go. And I am setting this one here. Now, per the instructions, when it comes to actually setting the tension, what you're supposed to do is keep this loose, and then once you have the tension set, back this off about 1/4 of a turn, and then reset it with the tension. And that's just a turn or two. That's just because when we pull this lever down, you see it's going to lift it up about 2 threads worth. So we're going to go ahead and do that. And currently we have a 1/2 inch blade in here, and we're going to go ahead and set the tension on it, and I'll show you how that looks. Okay, down here is our blade, and as you can see, it's pretty wobbly. You shouldn't have more than about 1/4 of an inch of deflection on it, and we have a little more than 1/4 of an inch. I like to have it nice and tight. On the machine up here, if you look, and I'll try to zoom in for you, you can see behind this knob there are different lines, and that is where our indicator is going to go to show what tension we have set the blade to. All I'm going to do is start cranking on the top one here. Okay, and as you can see here, here is our tensioning line. We're just going to start turning it until we get that up to the 1/2 inch mark. And while I do this, just to make sure there's nothing else wrong going on, I'm just going to check the blade. It's still pretty loose. And we're going to go until it's at a 1/2 inch on the line. I'm definitely getting tighter. Now, Carter does make a ratchet for this, so it's a little bit easier to turn the handle. And since I am in a position where I am now shorter than this and it's kind of leaned away from me, it's a little bit harder to turn. Also, because I think it is actually correctly on, I'm not getting the slipping that I was getting before where it wouldn't actually tension. Okay, now we're going to go ahead and engage the tensioner, and you'll see as I pull, oh, it's going to go above it, so let's just back it off. So adjust it a little more. As you can see now, we're set on right on. Okay, now that we have it set to the proper tension of a 1/2 inch, you can see we have less than 1/4 inch deflection, and that's what we're looking for. Now we're going to go to the other side of the blade, and what we're going to track is the fact that it's going to be properly tracking on the wheels. Now here is the upper wheel, and that's where we're going to start first. And it's hard to see, and I'll try to get a better angle of it for you, but if you look at the teeth here, we want the gullet, which is the lowest point of the teeth, about center line of this wheel. We want that so that it runs true and straight and doesn't slip off. And how we accomplish that is with the angle adjustment for the upper wheel, which is this knob right here. So all you have to do, and I suggest doing this when it's first not under tension, just to see and get it on there easily, because what you're going to have to do is make fine adjustments to that. But we're going to go ahead and try it because I had set it up earlier with this blade without the full tension on it, and it was running very true. And as we spin it, we can see the blade is not really moving forward or backward, showing that we have a good angle for that wheel. And if we come down and look at the bottom, the wheel is running a little bit more of the center. I haven't been able to get it to shift back. This is kind of the position it likes to be in. But as long as this blade isn't coming apart or off, we're pretty much good to go. So now let's go next into actually making sure our table and blade are square. So for checking your blade squareness left to right, the easiest way to do it is to take a good square that you know. I like to use a taller one so we can get the whole length, and just push it up to the blade so it's just touching, and then come to the front and see if there is any gapping on the blade. Now I can tell just from where it's touching there is a slight gap down here, so all we're going to do is find the angle adjustment knob for the table, loosen it up, and we're just going to adjust it so that we get to the point where there is no light coming through it. Once we have it set, we're going to go ahead and lock it back into place. Now, we also want to check our front to back. And this one's a little bit trickier, but also easy. Under the table are the trunnion bolts. And if your blade is out of whack one way or the other, what you're going to do is loosen those bolts and put some aluminum shims under there. Easiest way to do this is take some aluminum cams, cut them into the size of shims that you need, and then place them between the table and the trunnion bolts, or the trunnion that it's mounted to, so that way you can adjust it into squareness. And on ours, it's pretty darn close. There's a little bit, ever so slight, of a gap at the top, but not enough for me to really want to mess with. It probably would take one part of an aluminum can under each bolt on the back to raise the back up to put this in the square. But now that we got it all set up, let's go ahead and turn it on and see how it works. All right, I haven't made any adjustments to the fence. I know there's some gapping here. I got to work on the fence a little bit, but let's just go ahead and see if the machine turns on and how the blade runs. So far running good, nice and smooth. I don't have too much ball bearing movement on the top, which is what you want. You want about a dollar bill's worth of gap between the wheels and ball bearings. On the bottom, we got about the same. That'll be another video. I'll show you guys on how to adjust those, but let's go ahead and make our first cut. Okay, there you have it. We have our tension set correctly. Our blade isn't too wobbly. It doesn't have too much deflection. I do need to make probably some slight adjustments to these ball bearings for the rollers and guides. But for our first true cut it nice and smooth. Pretty darn straight. Not a lot of play going back and forth or the waves. Overall, it's working out pretty good. I am going to have to come back and do a few adjustments to these ball bearings, like I said. Maybe adjust some of the fence here and table, but we're good to go. We're up and running. Something I've been wanting to do on this for a little bit now. So anyways, please, if you get a chance, hit that like, subscribe, and notification button. Also, if you are watching this video and you're wondering where maybe I learned some of these things from, go ahead and check out Alex Snodgrass. He is the bandsaw master, at least what everyone else says. I would definitely highly recommend going and checking out his videos on how to tune your bandsaws and how bandsaws work. But anyways, hope you all stay safe. Have a great day.